When you think about a muscle car, you normally think the engine inside it is a V8 motor, i.e. two sets of 4 cylinders in a V formation on a massive engine that outputs a huge amount of horsepower and a beautiful sounding engine note when you step on the loud pedal. But the days of the big block V8 are very much over, unfortunately. If you're going to get one nowadays, you got to go with an old muscle car from the 80s, the 70s or the 60s. Modern day muscle cars don't have big block V8s for a number of different reasons, but why is this? Well, I'm going to explain why in this video today for you guys. So to understand what happened to the big block V8, we have to understand how it came to be in the first place, and we go back to just after the end of the Second World War in the United States. People had a lot more disposable income and cars were becoming much more popular. The very much obsession with Americans and their cars very much started after the Second World War. And people just kept getting bigger and bigger cars throughout the 1940s into the 50s and the 60s. But eventually, this started to change in the 1970s. And it was all down to the environment. Pollution was becoming a big problem in the US, and the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, people who've seen the Simpsons movie will know EPA, yeah, those guys, they started to want to change things, and smaller engines with better fuel economy was something they were trying to push. Now, to give you an idea, in the early 1970s, just example of a few different American muscle cars, I mean, I can barely believe these stats, it's incredible, but the Chevrolet Chevelle in 1970, that had a 7.4 litre V8. It had an average fuel economy of 9 miles per gallon. It's a similar story for the Oldsmobile Cutlass of the same year, 7.5 litre V8, 10 miles per gallon. The Buick Skylark from 1970, 7.5 litre V8, 10 miles per gallon. Plymouth in 1971, doing much better, 7 litre V8, 12 miles per gallon. Much more fuel economical at the end of the day. But basically, they were trying to push more efficiency with the engines. And the first way they did this was things like acts such as what we saw as the Clean Air Act in California, where they actually removed lead from the fuels that were being used. Now, of course, I don't know if it's the case that it's actually called this in the US, but I know here in the UK, our petrol, our gas is known as unleaded, because back in the day, they used to put lead into the fuel. Now, the reason for this was basically to reduce engine knock, I believe, back in the day. But unfortunately, what it did do as well is it output lead into the environment, which lead poisoning is a big problem at the end of the day. Removing that from the fuel was an incredibly good idea and definitely improved things like, well, it decreased, I should say, rates of cancer and also asthma as a result. That's a separate video for another time, but that's basically what they did. And stricter regulations on V8s did limit the size of these engines that car manufacturers were allowed to have. Now, another big reason as well was the early 1970s oil crisis. Of course, the oil embargo, where the price of gas in the States and most of the rest of the world, really most of the West, absolutely skyrocketed in the 70s. Having a less fuel efficient car with a much bigger engine was therefore a lot less attractive. People wanted cars with smaller engines and cars that were smaller on the whole. So we started to see these engines decrease and also the overall size of the cars start to decrease in the States around this time. And at the end of the day as well, it was very much a measuring contest, shall we say, when it comes to the size of these engines. Most average everyday person didn't really care about the size of the car engine. It just had to have enough power. And, again, the efficiency of these engines did improve throughout the 80s and the 90s to the point where you didn't really need a massive engine to get a car that has a huge amount of power. For example, my car, I think what has it got now? It's about 200 horsepower, something like that, which is more than enough. That's a lot at the end of the day. And that all comes from, a 1.6 litre 4-cylinder engine. I know this is my car is a modern car. Comparing it to cars of the past, it's a big difference at the end of the day. But that all very much started around that sort of time period. So it just really became a bit obsolete, for lack of a better word. And the big block V8s were even replaced on the high side of things by things such as V12s, things such as hybrid engines as well, and also the turbocharged engines, of course, as well. The V8 just very much kind of fell out of favor, and it's a bit sad at the end of the day. It is a classic, but innovation and and engineering always pushes these things forward. And yeah, so basically wanting to improve the fuel efficiency, I should say, of engines, environmental concerns, and also the price of oil and gas going up due to the 1970s embargo too. They were all big reasons why the big block V8 really fell out of favor after the 1970s. You won't find that many muscle cars that had one after that time period. And if they did have a V8, it would be relatively small compared to what it was a decade ago. Hope that was helpful for you guys. A little informative video about the history of the V8 motor in the United States of America. Sorry, I'll stop doing that accent. I mean, you guys probably don't like that, but yeah, I'll see you soon for some more automotive news, history, opinions, everything in between here on the channel. Have a great day wherever you are in the world right now, and we'll see you soon for some more content just like this. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you want to see some more. Have a great day.